Well then, what do you say we get started? Let's make a character. Oh, there we go. Here's our random roll guide. And remember, we do things a little bit out of order. So just, hey, follow along. It'll flow. And think of this character as we are revealing it detail by detail. And let's build him or her up and make her a viable part of a fantasy world in which we're going to be making a campaign for these characters on Saturday. Which isn't that far away. Hey, it's Thursday night, everyone. Alright, first up, do we have a male character, a female character, or a multi-class character? With a 58, we have a male character who is a 4, a human. And let's go evens or odds. Evens. So this is going to be a standard human. Ones all the way across the ability scores. Next up, let's roll his alignment. That's going to be 2 percentiles. 33 and 99. That is going to make a chaotic good human who's medium-sized. And now let's determine the level at which we're going to create this character. Percentile roll. 57. And so that is going to be a level 13 character. That means we have the ability to, to take a feat, as I'm a DM who allows them. So you would be able to get a feat at level 4, 8, and 12. And so of the 3 possible slots for a feat, let's roll and see if we take any, or if we're all stat bumps. That'll be another percentile die. 33, it's all us. It's all us. Okay. Now, let's produce a 13-sided die and determine who our character is. Beyond an adventurer, or even behind the adventurer. What's their job? Or what was their job if they're not currently doing it? Did they have a hobby? Did they have some sort of civic service? Or were they a recipient of some sort of civic service in the case of an urchin? This is an important part of your character. Don't forget this. Don't just treat it as stats. Alright, we rolled a 6. Oh, so we have an artisan or a merchant of some kind. Guild, artisan / merchant. And we'll decide when the time comes, do they sound more like a producer or a seller? You know, kind of like the middleman from, you know, the factory makes it, but the dealership sells it, kind of a thing. And there are 20 different trades that are represented in the Player's Handbook, Chapter 4, in that background. So I'm going to roll a d20, and we're going to find out which trade this character has taken up. 2. I don't know which one 2 is, but we have a placeholder, and we'll come back to it. Because right now, let's just get things primed, right? You have generic human male, loaded in your brain, and we're going to build it and build it and build it and build it. Let's produce 2 personality traits, 5 and 7, and then an ideal, a bond, and a flaw. 6, 6, 4. Okay. Now, let's determine a class. For a while, it seemed like there was kind of a joke going around, like, no, not another bard. It seems like we can't go a week without a bard, even though there's 12 different jobs. Well, I guess that's a Final Fantasy term, right? Jobs. 12 different classes. You know what? We've been doing a lot of DM homework for the past couple of weeks, so if we get a bard, can we count it as being reset? 3. A cleric. Okay, then. A cleric of, and you know what? Besides the death domain that is in the DMG, and for our purposes, we relegate that if we roll an evil character. So if we had a cleric yesterday, then our drow could have been a death cleric. There are 7 different domains that a cleric can take up besides death. So let's roll a 7-sided die and find out. 5. Ooh, a Tempest cleric. Nice. Very, very aggressive. You know, it doesn't mind getting in the mix. It's a very hands-on faith. Or rather a hands-off, because if you assault one of these clerics, they will have a very stern reply back to you. All right. Now, we need just a wee little bit more information to make our character. Humans begin at 4 foot 8, and we're going to add 2d10 inches to his height. We're adding 16 inches. So let's see. That is going to be... all right, so that's going to put us at 4 feet 24 inches, which on some circles, I know it's crazy, that might be known as 6 feet. Now, with that same 16, we are going to multiply that by 2d4 and add that to our base weight of 110 to get his weight. Like his normal weight, not with his gear or anything. You know, he wakes up, stretches, you know, he's in his pajamas or whatever, and he steps on the scale, and this is what we get. 6. All right, so we're going to add 96 pounds. So this is going to be 206 pounds. Darkwolf says, oh, speaking of Tempest clerics, I regrew one we made a while back. Haven't got around to posting it, though. You regrew or redrew? What happened to our old Tempest cleric? Did he wither on the vine, and you managed to cultivate him back to health? Drew, yeah, I got it. Now, lastly, but certainly not leastly, this is important, right? With everything else being the same, what could change from a character that's a level 13 cleric, a Tempest cleric, who we roll as a child prodigy that's like 13 years old, as opposed to a level 13 Tempest cleric who is, you know, ancient. Maybe he's really on his last adventure that he'll see one way or the other. You know, he might be in his 70s, his 80s. What effect does a character's age have on their outlook? And I would really try and tempt you all, if you haven't, to make sure, not just say, well, I'm a girl and I'm gonna play a guy character, or the opposite, or, you know, I always play elves. I'm really gonna, you know, mix it up and play a half elf this time. But consider not just, you know, a race or a class or even a background. Although backgrounds, I think, are still treated kind of like, well, you know, it's a part of 5th ed, but is it a thing? Think about your character's age. You know, play the old wise person, or play the, you know, play the kind of sassy, brash youth. Have fun with it. Do Tempest clerics reproduce by budding? Oh, he is a gnome? Okay, so yeah, he probably does, huh? Gnomes definitely reproduce by budding. It's canon now. Just sort of like gremlins, right? You get water on them, and a bunch of like little other gnomes like pop out of their back or something. All right, let's roll a percentile and find out where in the life cycle this character is. At a 38, that is going to put us in the adult band. And that is column 3. And we come over here to human. So an adult human is between 26 and 40. So we're going to roll a 15-sided die. Whoop. 12. So 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, and 37. Adult, 37 years old. And now we have a start. From here, we are going to consult the PHB to fill in some of the placeholder numbers, but it's going to be up to our imaginations to continue to build this character. Let's take the rolling guide down, and class, open your player's handbooks to chapter 4. Come on now, class. You know we've done this before. Hey man, has anyone pulled an MM2 beholder yet? No. Well, they have, but it was in another brick. So I have not busted a MM2 beholder out of the current brick that's open or the sealed brick that I still have. But we have opened one on stream. There's a couple figures I think out of that set that we haven't opened yet, and even for Monster Menagerie 1, we have not yet opened beyond the ultra, like the invisible figures. We haven't opened a young Ramoraz, so I'm really eager to pop one of those open on stream too. Hey Diadems, the Temptation, yep, the Temptation. Alright, let's go to Guild, Artisan, or Merchant. There's not necessarily a big difference between which side of the counter, or I guess which side of the assembly the character is on, but it could affect your starting package in a way. I'm still willing to float whether they're a creator or a reseller, but let's find out more about, in any case, what is driving this person. Diadems is growing the horns of temptation here. Come on, Flumph. You know you want to. Hey, Astraeus, welcome. You came in right as I was making little tempting devil horns to represent Diadems. Let's see. Entertainer, and there we go. Because you got to watch out for the halfling here. This man knows his business. And this face, oh, I love it. I love it. The halflings that they've drawn in here are just so much fun. Diadems, you dirty dog, you. Me? Wink, wink. We are going to get a skill proficiency in Insight and Persuasion. Oh, so here we go, actually. So Diadems is rolling... Diadems has rolled Insight against Trustaflumph, and then has used that skill to gain advantage on a Persuasion, and Diadems has successfully overcome Flumph's DC, and apparently, and apparently Trustaflumph here is expanding his collection. We're going to have a tool proficiency of, well, some kind of artisan tools. And actually, let's take a look here. Hey, armorer, locksmith, or a finesmith, huh? Interesting. Because it's like a DC 8 rip. Here, I'll pay respects with a there we go. Diadems managed to roll a 20 on a D6. You know what? Interestingly enough, when I look for Finesmith, I don't see one. It's saying, well, do you mean Runesmith, perhaps? Though another definition outside of that is a metalsmith, or simply a smith, is a craftsman fashioning useful items. For example, tools, kitchenware, tableware, jewelry, and weapons out of various metals. So a fine smith could be, you know, it says armorer, and that's very obvious what that is. It does say a locksmith, and that's its own kind. And then a fine smith would be, I guess, more of a, you know, a blacksmith might make very obvious things, you know, like weapons or nails or horseshoes. A fine smith could be someone who deals in smaller or custom jobs, which I guess a locksmith could fall under. But I'll tell you what, I think there's a big enough difference. Let's roll a D3 and find out which category this person falls under. Yeah, maybe they make cutlery. Exactly. We rolled a 2, so we have a locksmith. And you know what? In this case, if you under my DM-ship at a table, if you rolled a locksmith, you know, perhaps something like tinker tools could work. Smith's tools, because right, you're still making metal implements. Or instead of having a tool proficiency in a type of artisan tools, I would probably allow for automatic proficiency in thieves tools, because that's mostly what you would be making anyway. But here, you know, we can put down tools as smith's tools, or if we want to be in particular locksmith, but you get what I'm going for. As a PC, it doesn't hurt to ask your DM for considerations like that. You know, if you want to play a locksmith, it doesn't mean you're a rogue. It just means you know how locks work and tumblers and key making and all that. You know how it works, and it doesn't make you a bad person or, you know, some sly thief. It just, you know, you could be a practical businessman. In fact, maybe you're actually anti-rogue because you hope to make locks that people can't pick easily. You know, something to think about. Languages. We're going to get a language of our choice. And, well, humans get common, something that they grew up around. And then in this case, our background is an artisan's going to open us up to another. And generally what that reflects is, you know, maybe where you went to school, or you're an apprentice or a journeyman of some kind underneath, I don't know, let's say a gnome. Maybe a gnome taught you the tricks of the trade. So you would have picked up Gnomish during your study. And that's why a lot of backgrounds will offer you a language, because it might fall under a particular region, or a particular race might have been your mentor. Hey, Nadpoo, welcome. And by the way, Trustaflump, I'm sorry, my sound isn't working, and I must have looked away while you signaled your given to temptation here. Which box did you still want a Monster Menagerie 2 box, Trustaflump? I didn't want to seem like I was ignoring you. I'm sorry about that. I wanted to double check. I saw Daly's life bar went down. I'm like, wait a second, what happened there? I would probably only allow proficiency with locks, not traps or alarms. Yeah, that could be fair too. MM2, we can wait till there's a little bit more of a break. Okay, all right, then we'll keep going. And this right here, Trustaflump, this bad boy right here. This has 4 minis inside of it, and one of them can be yours. So, yep, cheers to you. All right, that was our language. Our equipment, we're gonna get a set, so we're gonna get our smith's tools, or again, a lockpick kit, or thieves tools, that kind of a thing. A letter of introduction from the guild, and that is so you can prove to people that you aren't just a snake oil salesman, right? You just don't show up in your caravan peddling wares, when in fact you're here on official mercantile business. And you know what? The character I randomly rolled for One Crit Wonders one shot the other day, I had so much fun being a merchant guild member. It was really good to incorporate that into my roleplay. Oh yeah, yeah, Wonder Draft. In fact, we could probably even do a map making session with that on stream here, Nadpoo. And Trust the Flump, if you want to see how it goes, we can experiment around with it as well. We are also going to get Traveler's Clothes. And a belt pouch containing 15 gold. Now, I will say, if we decided to instead be a guild merchant, then instead instead of making the product, we're just an expert at selling that type of product. And it says rather than proficiency with tools, you might be proficient with navigator's tools or an additional language. And instead of artisan's tools, you can start with a mule and a cart. Right? Because you want to travel city to city and see what there is to see and sell your sell your wares from town to town. I'm excited for next week. I think it'll be the finale of Lost Mine of Phandelver. I'm making some notes to give to the party so I can drag them to the absolute opposite end of the map to start Horde of the Dragon Queen. Ah. Oh, all right, so that would be fantastic, says Fluffy Sheep. Sure. What we can do then is, you know what maybe we can do? We can have a like an in-depth map making session. Maybe we can do that on Saturday, in conjunction or instead of the campaign, because we can make the campaign later. In fact, what we might be able to do this week is make our 5 characters, and then we can make a map. You know, we'll generate some landmarks. We'll make a well. Hey, speaking of D&D time, we'll make a culture out of the party that we've produced and the random rolls that we've made, and then maybe we can just spend a session inside Wonder Draft and create this map. I have a warlock to scold, a nemesis to escape, and a wizard to send on vacation. Or whales. You could be a traveling whale merchant. Yeah, peddling sightseeing tours, oil, or I guess just, I don't know, maybe this world has some kind of miniature whale, right? It would be sort of like the equivalent of, you know, it'd be like a hamster-sized whale, right? You know, it's just like little pet whales. They still have the little, they have the little blowhole, and, you know, you could put them in a bowl and you could watch them dive, and, you know, you got to fill them with sea monkeys because that's what they'd still eat. But maybe you have little like handheld whales in this world, and they go around selling them. It's like a traveling pet store. Maybe that sells exotic pets. And made your week. I'm glad that I helped to make your week. Oh no, Mantarok! Don't blast us with your Eldritch mind powers. Welcome, Mantarok. It's good to see you. Alright, our feature is guild membership. And guild membership is a really strong background feature. You can use it, I mean, you could use it as a bully pulpit. You could use it to be, you know, a stern labor organizer. You can use it to try and get meetings with important NPCs, particularly political, but perhaps even religious. Having this kind of clout, even as an not as the leader of your guild, but just as an agent of it, can really empower your character. And if you do take guild artisan or merchant, make sure you use that power in the campaign. It's a great force of leverage that you can use in the story, in the adventure, the module, whatever you're playing through. In order to get information, arrange this or that. It's really, really good. My one-shot, I haven't seen it yet, but I be frazzled with work and other stuff last week. Oh, yeah, so Trust a Flump, yeah, so it was a series. I had 4 players that week. And, because Coffee Cat was out on vacation. And so I brought each of those players through a personal nightmare. And so for each of them, it was like a one-shot that was a spotlight on their character. And the others secretly were sent a set of instructions before the game started to try and get ready for it. You know, some roleplay prompts. And as we went through the little adventures, the other players were also kind of in on it, and were helping to produce a really organic, session. Yes, I did, Derek, and thank you for showing that. And also, Fluffy Sheep, that other Alice Cooper song, I thought was a good fit too. Yeah, Trust a Flump. So yeah, when you watch it, just know that I wrote up a primer for each of the 4 one-shots, and I sent the primer. I sent primers to all of the players, but obviously I excluded the one that was for their own, story. So they were going into this haunted house style one-shot blindly, and had to react to what was going on in that situation, and explore it and whatnot, because I wanted the player, and vicariously through the character, I wanted that character to react as that character would, given what was going on. You know, to ponder, to think, to make decisions that were a part of that character in response to the other stimuli that not just I was producing, but that the other players were. All right, let's check out his personality traits. Whoop, I went too far. All right, personality trait number 5. I'm rude to people who lack my commitment to hard work and fair play. That was Gleam in One Crit Wonders one shot with my Tiefling Gem Cutter. That was one of my personality traits. And number 7, I don't part with my money easily and will haggle tirelessly to get the best deal possible. His ideal is number 6, aspiration. I work hard to be the best there is at my craft. Wouldn't it be great if we had a rogue that we rolled up randomly in this party? Someone who could actually test, test the locks that this character creates. So during Celine's nightmare, Noralai got knocked to minus 25 hit points, though we didn't calculate if she had resistance. But the max HP is 26. Ah. Well, I assure you, Dark Wolf, if the necrotic fireball wouldn't have brought you low, you probably would have also had your pretty little neck snapped by this beastly undead that was stalking the levels of the ship. Teehee. The bond of this character is also number 6. I will get revenge on the evil forces that destroyed my place of business and ruined my, livelihood. Oh my. Not only... Please, everyone. I know for much of you, I'm preaching to the choir. If you're new here, or you're not, you haven't really played a lot of D&D or worked with backgrounds, as a PC, not just as a PC, as a DM, you see this right up here that we just did? I will get revenge on the evil This is plot. This is a plot seed. This is world building that is baked right into your character. So there's some sort of an evil force. It could be a gang. It could have been a pack of demons or something. A very literal evil force. Maybe you were just a locksmith in a town that got caught up in war. but now something has happened, and this livelihood has been ruined. And it doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean that you still can't be a locksmith. Maybe you were. Maybe this happened 10 years ago, and you actually did manage to reestablish yourself. And you have a job, or you have your business, but, ooh, in the back of your mind, ooh, I'm shaking my fist. Tons of content for you. Tons. And it's right here. It's all right here for you. Flaws number 4. I'm never satisfied with what I have. I always want more. Well, there we go. I want to be the best at my craft, and you know what? That's now taken not just as an ideal, but perhaps to even a detriment. You know, maybe he stays up late nights. You know, maybe he's after some rare elements in order to make a better lock. Or to reinvent locks altogether. You know, so you have the Kingston lock. Well, where did the Kingston lock come from? If you're familiar with electronics terminology. Look it up. Where did the Kingston lock come from? Story hook, aka, yep, a DM's best friend. Exactly, Nadpoo. Also, I don't think I remember if I took or have damage for the save, but it works out story-wise. It's best not to look back and micromanage what I think everyone was considering to be a very successful RP experience. Trustaflump says, I can't help thinking an alternative directive. Perhaps their livelihood was their faith and their church was destroyed, and the lockmaker bit is just something they threw themselves as a guise as they search for those who ruined his sect. That can work too, because look, as our character is being made now in this snapshot, we know that this character is currently, or at least has had experience being a locksmith. That doesn't mean that in this person's past they could have been an acolyte, that they by background or just by concept. You're absolutely correct, Trustaflump. And in fact, this is something that we did talk about in our heads up, like our one player to one DM, was allowing players to add a second or to swap backgrounds over the course of a campaign. Last session, they full-on cult sacrificed a bugbear. During that scene, they had terrible luck, so they, in character, told their friend to pray with them, and that friend is an Archfey warlock, and I'm going to make their patron plenty upset. Yeah, right? Excuse me, why are you talking to fiends? Why are you praying to devils? Like, not only am I Fey, I'm right here. I literally give you spells and incantations and all this other stuff. You know, are you seeing other patrons? Yep. Derek's got it. You can apply that pressure, Dark Wolf. Those spells don't come for free. Patrons are not necessarily benevolent gods that just give gifts out to followers. Okay, so going with this, and you know what? With what you're going for here, Flump, we could even incorporate that into this character's backstory. I think sticking with Guild Artisan, right? Because if they reinvented themselves, I think going for the Artisan could work. And when we're making a backstory, we could even say something along the lines of, this character remembers when he was 10 years old, and everyone locked themselves in the church, in the town church, hoping that it would be sanctuary and they'd be passed over. And it so happens that the locks on this temple failed. Otherwise, it might have been like a temple in the mountains, or it would have been some very sturdy or impregnable sanctuary. But the locks on the doors failed, and the enemy came in, and he was lucky to escape with his life. And since then, not only has he been plotting revenge for the people who took this his faith, his family, his friends, his village from him, but he always remembers, you know, it was the locks that failed. The locks that failed. I will build a better lock. Yeah, you're a busy warlock here, Derek. You just figured that they're a Tempest cleric after all. Got explained. Oh, well. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought we were still relegating it to just backgrounds, and I'm like, well, acolyte and such. No, you're very true. And not only that, we can even think of things like a character like this could bring an interesting concept. If they want to invent a cool lock, perhaps they have investigated electromagnetism. And so perhaps the only way to pick his particular locks is to be able to channel just the right amount of electricity through sort of like a dummy key. So the key doesn't do anything more than just conduct the electricity, thereby triggering the magnetic lock, and then there we go. But it's something that only he has really developed. No, you're right, Trust the Flump. I still had backgrounds on the brain, so thank you for bringing that up. I have a question. In the official sources, are there any beings or entities that are greater or older than the gods, like the Raven Queen, etc.? Yeah, Fluffy has it. It does. There's the concept of a great old one, that there's this far realm that's beyond even the multiverse itself. You know, some incomprehensible space where deities or other things exist. Fun bit is they have a pixie that popped in a time or two to help and wanted her to stick around, so he has a companion like the other players. She's gonna deliver the news and be all puffy-cheeked. Oh, that'll be nice, Darkwolf. Yeah, Trust the Flump. That's very good advice to Nadpoo there. Oh, good reference, Derek. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, now that we've completed this, well, I'd say let's go to the races, but honestly, this is just adding 1 to all of the ability scores. So, ta-da, we're finished. Now let's go to classes, and let's explore what a cleric is and what they do. We're level 13, so we're going to get all of this good right up here. But we're going to take it one step at a time, so if you're new to this, don't be boggled and say, this is so hard, what's going on? Don't worry about it. Level by level, line by line, we got this. Or since we're generating it at 13, there's even a couple shortcuts that we can take, right? Look, we have a proficiency bonus of +5. We know 5 cantrips. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? We have placeholders. And now look at our spell slots. 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1. And now we have placeholders that we can go and reference later, while we still continue down the lines that are coming up here. So, clerics are a D8 hit die class, and because we're level 13, bada boom, we have 13 D8 hit dice. We are proficient with light and medium armor as well as shields. Weapons, all simple weapons. And we get to choose 2 skills from history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion. Well, we already have insight and persuasion from our background as a guild artisan. So let's take a look at our personality, right? Yeah, we're a Tempest cleric. What would have led us down this path? And also, who are we, right? I'm rude to people who lack my commitment to hard work and fair play, and I don't part with my money easily, and will haggle tirelessly to get the best deal possible. Well, that's kind of a persuasion, right? What else do we have? I work hard to be the best there is at my craft. So what that could mean, maybe history. History could be a guiding force, because this person knows about the history of their craft, and is very professional about it. Knows great inventors that have come before, and so that could justify picking up history. What else? We have, I'll get revenge on the evil forces that destroyed my place of business. That could still be history. I think religion we have a strong case for. And I'm never satisfied with what I have. I always want more. He doesn't sound like the very nice, oh, it'll be okay, I'm going to cure you of all your diseases and wounds. I think history and religion are really going to be his focus. And you know what? If he takes his religion that seriously to pursue revenge, or even incorporate his faith into his inventions, I think that would justify taking that knowledge. They're called the Oberth and Forgotten Realms, but the lore behind them is all shifty, and really you can just kind of make it up as a DM or a player. Make it up and with your GM about the ideas you have. Much like quantum mechanics, anyone who understands Lovecraft has merely failed to understand it. I've never officially read any of his work, but I've watched a good bit of those reviewing, breaking down Lovecraft-type videos. Nadpoo gives a courteous bow to the fluffy sheep. We're going to have some equipment, although let's take a peek, because you know what? Some of our domains might give us additional proficiencies that will affect our starting package. And because we get our domain at level 1, let's take a little peek inside and see what else we're going to pick up here. With Tempest, martial weapons and heavy armor. So our armor is, I should have done this before, but we're going to go all armor and shields. And simple and martial weapons. Right? We are a battle cleric. Alright. So that means we can take a Warhammer, as we are proficient. And you know what? I think we'll do just that. Warhammer. We will start with scale mail, because we can. Because we can. Yes, we can. A light crossbow and 20 bolts, or any simple weapon. We should probably pick up a simple weapon of some kind. You know, we have our smith's tools on us. We have a warhammer. So, you know what? Let's just complete all... We have all the hammers. We're going to pick up a light hammer. Or it's like a throwing hammer. A priest pack or an explorer's pack? Oh, you know what? We are going to be... Our priest's pack is full of mercy. If any of you... So it's not directly referring to a priest pack in the D&D sense. But if you get that it's full of mercy reference, let me know in chat. I'd like to see who gets that. A shield and a holy symbol. And we have a shield, so we're going to click that right up here. And in fact, scale mail doesn't allow for the addition of dex, so that starts at 16, plus shield is an 18 AC. Derek's getting deep into lore. There's a new Call of Cthulhu video game out too, by the way, everyone. Alright, spellcasting, we're going to get back to it. Spellcasting relies on some ability scores. What are those? What are ability scores? Don't worry about it. Forget about it, huh? That's one of the last things that we do, because ability scores are a part of your character, but they don't make up your character entirely. And I want to make sure that we're focusing on the character first. Aside from that, we get a channel divinity. Oh, actually, here, let's make some room. There we go. Channel divinity. We are going to, we get turn undead, which turns into destroy undead in a couple levels. So I'm just going to skip ahead and put destroy undead. Oop, undread, even. Destroy undead. As a, as one of our options. And our second is going to come from our domain. In fact, for our other type of spellcasting, I can put Chandiv here, and we're going to be able to cast it 2 times. 2 times the rest. And we're also going to be getting Divine Intervention, which is a way. It's a this is great for roleplay. Mechanically, it can easily replace a slot, sort of like you've spent all your slots and, oh, I'm praying for a miracle, please. I need this person not to die. Can I get a cure spell? And so, as a DM, more likely than not, you'll grant, if it's invoked, you'll probably grant a spell more easily. Otherwise, you can treat them kind of like mini wishes in some form or fashion. It does take some, there's suggestions, and I would practice discretion. And beware as a PC, if you call on Divine Intervention too much, depending on what you ask for or how often you're beseeching your particular god's presence in the material world, you might have consequences. Hashtag just saying. Alright, so that is what we get for being a cleric. All clerics have this. And a lot of our variety now is going to come from our domain. So let's pop back over to Tempest here. In our archetype, we're going to get Wrath of the Storm. You thunderously rebuke attackers. When a creature within 5 feet of you that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to cause the creature to make a dex saving throw. The creature takes 2d8 lightning or thunder damage, your choice, etc., etc. We are also going to get, for our channel divinity, Destructive Wrath. When you roll lightning or thunder damage, you can use your channel divinity to deal maximum damage instead of rolling. We are also going to get Thunderbolt Strike. When you deal lightning damage to a large or smaller creature, you can also push it up to 10 feet away from you. And you know what? They have this as a distinction in the player's handbook, and I believe, Fluffy Sheep, you were talking about Sentinel or some other feats that should have a rider, kind of like what this does above, where it says large or smaller, or it scales to a nothing more than one size category larger than you, or something along those lines. We are also going to get Divine Strike. You gain the ability to infuse your weapon with strikes of divine energy, and you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 thunder damage to the target. And we're just shy. At 14, it would go up to 2d8. So this is going to give us our 1d8. And we're not high enough yet to be Daenerys Stormborn. We're not Stormborn. At 17, you have a flying speed equal to your current walking speed whenever you're not underground or indoors. And why that pops up at 17, and you see that in all of the archetypes or the domains for clerics. Remember, level 17 through 20 in 5th edition, that's epic level. In the past editions of, at least in 3rd and 4th, we were sort of taught that epic level doesn't start until 20 and or beyond. In 5th edition, epic level starts at level 17. You are an epic character then, and you're doing epic stuff in the world. No one will play a cleric? Really? Interesting. I wonder why not. Hellstar Ramina. I'm not familiar, Derek. I mean, yeah. If that's your homebrew take on it, Nadpoo, it does scale on a percentile with their level. By the time they can do this, there's a 10% chance that the god will answer, because it's already on a percentile system. Most I find don't like playing characters because of the heal bot mentality. Well, yeah, and so that's why what I like is they gave so many different options. You could go a Tempest and just be a front line. Yeah, I mean, you might even make a paladin piddle in their armor with how ferocious you can be on the battlefield. And same thing but different for a light cleric. You know, you're like, oh, light, oh, it's wonderful, you know, all these little sparkles and wonderful things. No, as a light cleric, you're a walking, you know, you're a Flammenwerfer. You were Flammen, and that is what your god wants. You know, your god wants, you know, light to be brought, but also, you know, these fire sacrifices and all this other stuff. And so instead of a frontline beater, you're a backline flamethrower as a light cleric. Well, it can be, but if you let your players know, hey, I have heal spells, but honestly, healing is a secondary thing for my character. I mean, I won't necessarily go out of the way, because that's not a part of my faith. Yeah, healing word can. I'll tell you what, though. Healing word has, you know, has some feathers ruffled because of just how good of a healing spell it is. Okay, so these are our abilities. It is now time to give... Wait, that's trickery. Oh, derp, it's up here. Ha, TE before TR. We are going to be getting some domain spells. Let's see. First up, cantrips. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 4, 3, 3, 3. Whoop. 2, 1, 1. Okay. Spellcasting ability is going to be Wisdom. Cleric. Spells prepared equals... for your Cleric, it is your Wisdom modifier plus your Cleric level. That is the number of spells from all the spells that you can know as a Cleric. You know, you can pull that many and distribute them among your different slots that you have available. Now, what does not count against your number of spells prepared are your domain spells. And so what we can do is go domain. And this is what will flavor your Cleric and make your Cleric different from others. At least others that are not of your same domain. So we're going to get Fog Cloud and Thunder Wave. We are going to get Gust of Wind and Shatter. We are going to get Call Lightning and Sleet Storm. We will then get Control Water, which is that's a fun spell, by the way, if you never got to play around with that spell. And Ice Storm. And then lastly, Destructive Wave and Insect Plague. I like that, Nadpoo. Well, if you didn't take Eldritch Blast, you could have taken whatever you wanted, Derek. I'm not scaling encounters or the like to to just cater to that, or that I as a DM have an expectation. I want you to have fun with your character and play what you want. Yeah, Fluffy Sheep, I do agree with that, yeah. Because at that point, I mean, the god might as well be playing instead of the character. And so it's sort of tongue-in-cheek. You can tell the player, well, you know what? You have your god's attention. Clearly, you are not capable of operating on your own. And so your character is set aside. And your god will be piloting you from now on. So when we finish the campaign, I'll again, tongue-in-cheek. You can be humorous about it. I'll let you know when we finish, and then we'll re-invite you back in after your character has had a bit of a timeout to think about how you have failed your patron, as acts of faith haven't been done as much as seeking divine intervention. Oh, gotcha, Derek. Well, hey, if you ever want to respec out, you can do that. If you have something else in mind and you want to reflavor, because it's a part of Jade changing over time, we can work that in. I'm sure there's a way we can do that. All right, now it is time. We have the chassis of our character. Now let's drop in the Hemi. Right? Let's drop in the engine. We use the standard array of 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. And we are going to, well, I would imagine wisdom. Wisdom and strength are going to be really, really big for this character. So let's give a 15 wisdom and a 14 strength. I would imagine this person is really hale and hearty. You're on the front line. You have the power of thunder and lightning at your command. And you also have to just endure as a smith. You have to endure heat. You have to endure bending over a table for hours and hours at a time. I dare say that something like our constitution would be a 13. Our charisma, because we do have to convince people still, our charisma can be a 12. We do have to do some manual labor. So perhaps our dexterity can be 10, and our intelligence can be our dump stat here. We are knowledgeable in history and religion, because that's what we've studied. But aside from that, Now when we do that, remember, as an average human, that's going to go to a 15, 11, 14, 9, 16, and 13. And then we're going to get our 3 stat bumps. And when you get an ASI, or an ability score improvement, you can add 2 points to one of your abilities, or 1 point to 2 of your abilities. So in this case, because we're making an end, we're totaling it all up at a level 13 character, we know we have 6 points we can distribute. And if we want, we can even round some stuff up and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is a great power in humans, is that, yeah, you know, you're considered average, but you have really decent scores all the way around. And for a level 13 character that's a frontliner, this is really solid. It's the kind of deal that, especially when streaming, but in all of life, really, you gotta just do your best to shut out the negativity, no matter how right you do it, those folks. There will be people who are obnoxious about it, but you know what? I dare say, especially in a streaming environment, that there would be a great amount of respect and curiosity for people who, if you play a warlock and you do not use Eldritch Blast. You know, and people are like, what do you mean? Why aren't you using Eldritch Blast? Well, if you have a reason and you're doing things really cool, you know, you have this alternative way of approaching things, you can get a lot of attention and respect for piloting something that's outside of the norm. Oh, gotcha, Nadpoo. Alright, I gotcha. I would be on board with Jade getting new spells when she changes personality, but it's a relatively low combat game, so it's not like you're stuck being an Eldritch Blast bot. Yeah, yeah. Well, and also, Derek, as well, you have Eldritch Blast, but you've also, you've spiced it up to be Jade's Eldritch Blast. You know, so it might as well just be like Jade's Blast instead. With the way that you flavored it and the way that you employ it. All right, this is going to give us a strength of 3, dex 1, con 2, int 0, wisdom 4, charisma 2. Wisdom and charisma are our saving throw proficiencies. So now we can go through here. Strength is 3 and 3. 1's all the way down for dex. 2 on con. 0's on almost everything in int except history and religion, which are 5 and 5 apiece, which isn't that bad. 9 and 9 for wisdom proficiencies, with a good solid 4 in the others. And charisma is going to be a 7 and a 7 with a bunch of 2's in between. I think the D&D community is refreshing. Everyone I've personally experienced so far has been really nice. I can't say that for some of the people I've met on forums, Reddit, Roll20, though. The Warlock in my game doesn't use it either because he just didn't want to use it. He's blade packed and mostly uses melee. Hey, I like it. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Now that we have these numbers, well, our initiative is +1, because remember, initiative is a dex check. Oh, we get 0 dark vision for being a Yumi. 30 feet of move, 15 climb, 15 swim, 0 fly. Our passive perception is 10 plus our perception modifier, so 14. Oh, our cleric now has a name, by the way. What name would we like to give our cleric? He's no longer just a bunch of numbers. And our warhammer and our throwing hammer or a light hammer are both strength-based. Yes, this is a ranged weapon, but it has the thrown property, meaning it uses strength. So strength plus proficiency, we have a +8 to hit with both of our hammers. Warhammer is 1d8 plus 3 bonus, and this is bludgeoning. However, it is versatile, so it can be 1d10 V for versatile is what I use to abbreviate it. Light hammer is 1d4 plus 3 bludgeoning. And it does have a range on it. We don't normally make a note, but if you're going through the equipment section, make sure you note your effective range on your weapons. Our spell save, for our attacks, it's going to be, I hope we're proficient, so we do get our proficiency bonus plus our wisdom modifier. So our attack is a +9, and then to calculate the save to any of this, just add 8 to your attack. So 17. There we go. That'll translate back down here. Attack bonus is +9, and our save DC against our spell effects is 17, and we'll copy the note here that our channel divinity, and by the way, this extra circle is awesome for lay on hands, key points, sorcerer points, bardic inspiration, etc. Spells prepared. Our wisdom modifier is 4, plus our 13 levels of cleric, so when we wake up in the morning and pray to the clouds or whatever we do, we can choose 17 spells in addition to our domain spells. And you can swap it up. If you want 10 level 1 spells, and you spread out the others, you know, like 2 and 1s, do so. And the next day you wake up, maybe it's an even spread. Maybe you want to, I don't know, for some reason, have a lot of really heavy hitting options at the end. It's up to you. You have a lot of flexibility as a cleric. You know, Derek, I would love to see you. I'd love to see you on D&D time sometime. If you're ever home or free and you're available, I would love to. And I don't think I've seen Plunder Loot except the Halloween special. But I would love to see some of your characters that you rolled in D&D time. I would be glad to watch and have some support. Even if you go for a later slot, Derek, I will watch that. And I will be happy to rebroadcast that on our channel to help promote not only D&D time, but I would love to see you roleplay in that situation. So really, I mean, what spells do we take on a character like this? On what's going on? What's the average given day? Because remember, the spells you receive are prayers that are to be answered by your god. And so you say, oh, you know, Tempest Lord, you know, brace me for my trials to come. I need your divine protection. And all of a sudden it's like a protective spell and an aggressive spell and all this other stuff. So really the only thing that we would lock in would be our cantrips. And I'm not terribly worried about filling that in right now. I mean, we can. It's I guess it's part of the personality. But I think we have a good start. We have a good start to our character here. Derek also made a recommendation. I propose Jurahd of Storms. Baxter's a Gravedigger, the only D&D time character to stay dead for a time by choice. Jurahd of Storms, Tempest Cleric, and a Locksmith. And so maybe he has invented his own Stormlock, that we can call it, or a Jurahd lock, or something like that. Which uses electromagnetism or something like that, or like a vibration pattern that he causes through his rumbling, and maybe this is the key, right? This is the key to the lock. I did forget hit points, by the way, so shame on me. At first level, you get your maximum hit die in hit points. Then for your other levels, so in this case, the remaining 12 of his 13. I suggest going half +1 on your hit dice. And the book even kind of takes that as a standard. But of course you might have a DM that says, nah, roll for it. And if you roll minimum, maybe I'll give you a reroll, but you have to keep it no matter what. Or not. Or you might have a DM who's running a very difficult campaign, like a kick in the door, you know, a bunch of hard fights, and you need to survive. And you might have a DM say, you get maximum hit points every level because heaven help you, you're going to need them. For an average game of D&D, I suggest half +1 of your hit dice. So half of 8 is 4, +1 is 5. And then, of course, for all of your levels, all 13 for this case, you get bonus hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. So here is our very complex algebraic equation. So we have a 26 in bonus. And we have 60 from class. So we have 86 plus 8 is going to be 94. 94 hit points at level 13 for a cleric. I think that's really venerable. And this cleric can go up in the midst of combat and really just lay things out, huh? Sure, I could rise from the dead, but who's got time for that? Says Fluffy Sheep. I'm here for eternity. I want to get started on it. Though he plays infrequently, D&D time usually isn't the tone. Mac has certainly made his mark on our little community with Baxter. Buried in a shallow grave such that when it rains, he might feel the rain run across his face. Ooh, wow. Trustaflump was introduced to him by watching him bury a bandit leader alive under the bodies of their dead companions and filled the hole. He likes to make sure people have time to think about what they've done and why this is happening to them. Oh, geez. A bit sinister for the D&D time usual, but beloved nonetheless. Hey, that's kind of... It is Trust a Flump. You know, unless it's like really going against what you want to present on D&D time. That's why I think, like, I would love to see him play in a session and watch how, if not as Baxter, then as his, then as Selcrest's mother. Shoot, why am I forgetting the Drow matron's name? I'm sorry, Derek. I'm derping out on her name. But even to get a Selcrest and Mom episode in, and actually have something that maybe mixes up the D&D time formula a little bit, right? Nadpoo, Stormlock, the simplest and securest of locks on the market today. Afraid of those pesky thieves breaking into that treasure-filled chest under your bed? Don't worry, with a Stormlock, they'll be struck down with the power of a lightning storm. Only you with this special key designed to only work in your hands can open this lock. Larshally, yeah, and by the way, Nadpoo, I like that sales pitch. Larshally, that is, yep, that's right. And if I recall correctly, when you cast a cure spell to cure someone's wounds, isn't it like spiders crawling through the wounds, sewing it closed by spinning a web? Larshally actually fits in really well. A very refined and principled character, but practical. Oh, and evil. Oh, gosh. Well, you know what? We have, here, we've made our character, everyone. We have Jurahd of Storms. He has a full personality. You know, Trust a Flump, you, I think you're really onto something there with the fusion of the background and the class. He even has his own brand of lock. This is a character that is realized. He has purpose. He has a drive. And he's not just a mindless magic barbarian who wants to wade into battle and cast thunderbolts and whatnot. You know, he wants to sell because he wants to protect people. You know, he knows force. He knows power. In fact, he himself can test his own locks with the Shatter spell. In fact, maybe he's even working on a way to make a lock knock-proof. Wouldn't that be a great accomplishment? And so he has drive and determination. You know, he's not just a mindless magical barbarian or a religious zealot. And you know what? He still has these thoughts of revenge, but he just doesn't smolder with generic rage. It's directed. You know, he's used what he's learned in the past. He's a craftsman. And he wants to strive to be the best. It probably gives him a bit of a grating personality, but it doesn't mean he's not a bad person. Especially, look, Chaotic Good, I think this works very well for this Tempest Cleric that we've made. Well, you know, Derek, if you earned it, you earned it, and be proud of it. I think that's really cool. And again, why I would like to see you, if you end up signing up for an episode, I would really love to watch you play in a D&D time episode. It's strictly, yeah, that's right. It's not generic rage. This is name brand rage right here. Hey, Alexander, welcome. Good to see you. Good morning to you. Nadpoo says, I have a tattoo of spiders crawling into and out of a cut on my forearm, actually. Oh, wow. Well, then there we go. Yeah, you're the Resident Evil of D&D time at one time. Well, I'm not going to force you into it, Derek, but, you know, I do know that you like those characters a lot, and I would, because I only met you after the fact. I don't know if I've seen you. I think I might have seen Mr. Plunderloot play once or twice. But if it's ever available to you and you wanted to go on and do it, I would love to see you play. So here we go. I mean, minus whatever the spells are that he wants for the day, we have our first of two completed characters here.